All right. Hello, everybody. This is Jim Winkler, and I am here today with Charlie Baer, a good friend of mine who's also an executive director with Market America. And he is one of our elite agents, one of our top agents with our Shop Financial division. So welcome, Charlie.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, it's good to have you here.
That's always fun.
Charlie, I think today we'll keep it casual. We're going to give some people some great insight to you and a little bit about Shop Financial and why they should look at this or why they should work with elite agents. Can you give us a little background, Charlie, on your background?
So my background was financial services before Market America. So I did a lot of retirement planning, just to help people so they'd be in a better position when they got to 60, 65.
Wow, that is fantastic. So you were doing financial planning before you were doing anything with Shop Financial.
Oh, yeah. The late 80s, I started in financial planning.
Okay, and then let me ask you a question. So then you're doing your financial planning. How do you end up, being introduced to Market America?
So I had a friend of mine I knew from the insurance and investment industry showed up at my house one day, said, I have a business. And my point was, okay, tell me all about it. And he goes, well, it's Market America. I said, no, what is this? He goes, you got to come to a meeting. I said, oh, no, I don't. I know what this is. And Jim, I went anyway. And I am analytical. So I looked at it going, there is no way there's a company that is going to treat their people this well. So it took me 9 months of looking at it. But I actually partnered and quit the next day. So for those of you that think and it took me from that point 9 more months to repartner.
Wow.
Yeah.
And executive director, which is one of our highest levels within the company. So I guess it was even though it took 9 months, it was a good decision to go forward.
And I got to say, I got to give a lot of, kudos to Ben Ginder, who did not stop talking to me.
Yeah.
For 9 months.
That's a great point. And great. So from there, Charlie, how do you go from, okay, now you're building this great business with Market America. And now how are you introduced to Shop Financial and the Debt Shredder?
So it was Ben. He said, hey, I bumped into this company, take a look at it. It'd be great if Market America would offer it. And I looked at what they did, and like I come from the field, I'm thinking I can handle most of this stuff myself. And Market America, thank goodness, saw them and said, hey, this would be a great division to have. And Jim, me being the issue I am, I had 2 debts, a mortgage and a car loan. I looked at this and said, I can do this myself. So another 10 months went by of me doing it on an Excel spreadsheet. And my wife goes, so how are you doing against Debt Shredder? I said, well, not so good. It's kicking my butt.
With two debts.
And I only had 2 debts. But Jim, like everybody, right? Life gets in the way, and something you should do this week might happen in June. Right. And I was thousands of dollars behind Debt Shredder. And she goes, oh, how much more money do you need to lose before you buy this thing? I said, well, that would be none. And I bought it.
Okay, that's great. I get my next question would be what intrigued you, but what intrigued you was, holy cow, I think I'm pretty good at this, and I'm losing the race, I guess you would say.
Well, and it's like everybody, you look at this and go, I can do this myself. And you just get 2 debts, you should be able to keep up with it, but it's math. It's an algorithm.
Yeah.
Right. It's way more efficient than I'll ever be.
I think you and I have talked, Charlie, if you have like 6 or 7 debts, it moves it into thousands or something like that of different possibilities of ways to handle it.
6 debts would require you to do 720 mathematical calculations every month.
Wow.
And you know how many are going to do 5?
Yeah. I'm with you. I don't care how good you are at math.
Yep.
So you mentioned you use Debt Shredder personally. Do you? But you don't have much debt now, if any. So do you still use it?
So I still do use it. I got it in 2008. It said it was going to have me done in 2000, I think in 2000, right around 14. And it had me out of debt before that, right? 2012, I was done. So what I do with it today is if I'm going to go look for, say, an investment property, instead of me trying to sit down and mathematically figure out if everything's going to work out, I can actually punch it into Debt Shredder. And Debt Shredder says, if this is your term, this is what you're going to borrow, this is your interest rate, and here's what you're going to get in rent. Here is how it's going to affect your net worth, and here's when you can expect to be paid off. And that's an easy decision for me to make.
That's great. So you're using it as you're expanding with real estate. So perfect. So then how long have you been an elite representative?
About 7 years.
About 7 years. And I mean, you have extensive background, obviously, with the division and ran the division for a period of time as well, which we always thank you for everything you did and still do with that to support everybody in the field. Why do you decide to jump into it that way?
Well, I look at it from an education point for not only myself, but to help the field, because out of all the years of financial planning, Jim, it's one of the areas people kind of glaze over, right? If they don't want to make the decision because they're not sure what the decision should be. And I wanted to make sure I offered enough additional help, knowledge, so they can make a quicker decision to help themselves.
No, that's great. That's great. So during this time, I'm sure you've got some stories for me, Charlie, of clients you've supported or helped.
So I'll give you easy ones. My daughters.
Oh, you're hitting your adult kids. That's personal.
So my daughter 2 years ago buys a house, and Jim, she called me up and says, I got a 30-year mortgage for 2.87%. Is that not phenomenal? I said, that is absolutely phenomenal. Let's take a look at your amortization table. I said, but before you pull it out, tell me what you think the amount, and her payment's about $1,000, right? So out of the $1,000 at 2.87, how much of that should go to principal? She goes, well, almost all of it. And Jim, when we pulled out the amortization table, 700 of it went to interest.
Yeah.
And she said, why is that way? I'm like, well, you're asking the wrong person, because the bank did that, right? Your lender. I said, but let's take a look at what Debt Shredder does. And by the way, Jim, there's no magic at all with Debt Shredder.
Right.
It just does math that she will never do because life's crazy, right? Working, house, car. And she can take her mortgage, she can take her car loans, her credit cards, and she's in her late 20s. And if she follows instructions, because that's all Debt Shredder is going to do is say, here's what you should do, she can manage debt to her advantage and be done sometime in her mid to late 30s.
Wow. Can you imagine that?
Now, my other daughter calls me up and she's on this and says, Dad, I never realized how much money I was wasting. Now, I've been telling you this for 32 years.
Because it does show you, where the money goes, at least a chunk of it, right? While you're doing this. Did you run analysis on your daughters, Charlie?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I would not let them touch the program until they saw what it could do for them.
Okay. That's something great for people to know, that we offer a free analysis
Yes.
that anybody can take, with the help, obviously, of a representative to do it. But then it'll show you, break down, if you change certain things. Sometimes it's not even adding extra payments, just redirecting money, right?
Yep.
What it could take that interest down to. And interest is real money. You save 50 grand in interest, you've saved 50 grand basically.
And there's no question, right? Because that's money you would have sent out of your pocket.
Right.
So no question.
Well, I bet your daughters are happy and glad that Papa has been teaching them about this with the Debt Shredder. That's great.
Absolutely.
So besides your family, Charlie, let me ask you, where do you find most of your clients or your customers?
So initially it was with people that I knew that, and I didn't care what their experience was. If they did not know how to handle money, if they were very good with money or they had no debt, Jim, my question was always, Jim, I'd like to show you something I'm doing that is a benefit for almost everyone. Can I at least show you, and maybe you could point me to someone I could help?
Okay, so you're basically using, going back to Market America, you're using the evaluation approach, just
Absolutely.
like we do there, saying to people, okay, evaluate it, see if you might know somebody could help, but that probably a lot of times they might say, hey, it's something I should look at as well.
At least half of them go, hey, can I do an analysis?
So if I'm someone and you give me a call, how's this call typically going to go?
So, and it wouldn't be, it really would, we would talk about everything we need to get caught up.
Yeah.
And then my conversation would be going, because most people know that I do Market America.
Yeah.
And it would be, we've added a division that I think has one of the best mission statements ever, is to help people manage debt to their advantage. Jim, I would just like to stop by for about 15 minutes and show you what it does. Maybe you can point me to people that I could help.
Wow. Great.
And
great.
That's the end of my, and they'll say yes. And I will tell you, most people will go, sure, stop by for 15 minutes.
Yeah. And then do you work to run an analysis with them, Charlie, or do you just show them some of the basics of the program?
So I always take a sample analysis along.
Okay.
And I go, let me show you, here's a 40-year-old couple. Here are the 5-6 debts they have. Here's what the program will help them do. And then I have the benefits of owning Debt Shredder. And then, Jim, who do you know that this could help?
Okay. Great.
So I don't touch you ever, in the sense of, Jim, I think you should run an analysis.
Right.
Because
you're showing, this is great, showing an analysis, obviously with names blocked out from somebody else, and then trying to get referrals, but that may lead them to say, hey, I should do one.
they're going, hey, is there any downside if I have an analysis run for me?
Yeah.
Jim, just so you know, I'm not here to run an analysis on you. I am not saying you shouldn't. I just didn't come by for that reason.
Okay. Love it. Love it. Now, Charlie, my next question I want to move into is, okay, that you have a financial background, you've dealt with people in finances for a long time. A lot of people aren't real comfortable with that. Why should a shop financial representative work with an elite agent? And of course, the elite representatives we have are handpicked. They're based on statistics of retail sales, building their Market America business while building their shop financial business, and being able to support people. So showing that they're using and working with the program. We have about 10 elite representatives. Why would a shop financial representative want to work with an elite representative?
So many reasons. So Jim, just to go back to my financial planning agency, Jim, if I hired you and you had an extensive financial background, I just didn't say, Jim, go get them. I said, Jim, let's go out and you watch me do a few of these.
Yeah.
Because I want you to do it the same way I do. Now, let's say you have no background. Jim, I want you to learn, because what my goal is to sell a few for you. And then I want to gather referrals from the people we see. And Jim, they're all yours.
No, it's great.
So when you come on board, I want you to go out there with 5, 10, 15, 30 referrals. So you start. So why not work with somebody you can take notes from that understands the division? You don't have to have any background at all. You don't have to carry a license. You don't have to have any of that stuff.
Charlie, it reminds me, in 2 companies I worked at corporately, when we would train people, they had to go out in the field with somebody for 2 to 4 weeks before they could do anything on their own. I'm a firm believer that a shop financial representative should never, and I don't care what background they have, show this program to somebody without an elite representative. At least the first 4 times. I honestly believe they should do it the first 10 and then be ready to go on their own. And by then, as you're talking about, one of the goals our elite representatives do is to build up the referral list. So they've seen it now 4 to 10 times, and now they can go out with these referrals and talk to them. And what you're talking about, Charlie, is called a sales assist.
Is a
Um,
sales assist. Yep.
Now, on a sales assist, how does that work in terms of the way the financially? The person who, if I invite you to help me as an elite representative to help me with somebody, I would, if I did it on my own, I'd make $1,400 in retail profit. But if I do a sales assist, what happens?
So if we do sales assist, you're not going to make the 1,400, but you're also not going to do the work of, other than introducing anything else. We're going to walk through it together. You're going to get 700. I'm going to get 700.
Okay. What about
This-
BV?
The 600 BV that comes with it,
600
all of
BV. Wow, I get all of it.
we don't split it. The only thing we split is the retail profit. And then Jim, if we walk away with 3, 4, 8, 9 referrals, they're also yours.
Well, it's funny, Charlie, because I know sometimes people say, well, I don't want to have to split the retail profit. And I said, well, 50% of zero is still zero, because if I don't use the elite representative, I know for me, I'm not good enough to do it. I need somebody there with me. And by the way, I'm the same way showing the business plan. I still like to have somebody with me when I'm doing it, because I believe, 1 + 1 is like 10 in our business. 2 people together add up so much. So that's great points, and why I'm so strong. And I know you are on people working the sales assist program, working with our elite reps. Any final words, Charlie, for say somebody's a new shop financial representative? What would your advice be to them?
And we're going to go right back to sales assist. I would contact somebody that understands how this works, and you go out, and Jim, what you should do is you would let me do the work for the first 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to have you do the actual explanation for the next 1 or 2. So when you leave me, you are ready to go.
Oh, I like that. So you're going to take the first few and let me watch, and then I'm going to do it and you're going to watch, but you're like my safety net in case if I mess up or I can't answer something, I got you there. And then again, I'm learning while you're taking over for me. It's a great training method, Charlie. Well, I appreciate you taking time to jump on here today. And I know this will be very beneficial to a lot of people in many different ways. And
Yes.
congratulations on all your success with the program, and look forward to you mentoring and helping many more people in the future.
Thanks a lot, Jim.
It's great.